sprinting. This has the greatest return on investment, the most profound impact on testosterone and the other adaptive hormones of any kind of workout. It's the quintessential human movement of brief, intense, all-out sprints. That's the nutshell of the diet. Rob Wolf, major props for him with his epic one-liner that he delivered on our podcast together, where he says, if you want to live longer, lift more weights and eat more protein. If you can maintain optimal body composition, if you can keep that muscle mass, that muscle strength going, by definition, you're going to have excellent metabolic health. On with some important tips to optimize testosterone naturally for the ladies and for the mans, okay? It starts with sleep, number one. I've done whole shows related to testosterone optimization, so I'm going to take you through these kind of quickly as a refresher and making sure that you're nailing all these objectives as best you can, rather than trying to override them, because it brings up an interesting philosophical question. If you are engaging in hormone replacement therapy, you are possibly masking or overriding the adverse lifestyle consequences of things that you are not optimizing. So if you're a heavy duty business traveler and you're on the jets all the time, which is so stressful and is known to spike cortisol and kick you into chronic stress mode, especially crossing time zones and dealing with jet lag, and you are pegging your testosterone at a certain number through intervention, maybe that is mitigating the adverse lifestyle consequences of frequent jet travel. And maybe that's a fair trade-off, right? Hormone replacement therapy is not very ancestral. Our caveman ancestors did not have needles and syringes, nor, though, did they jump on airplanes and go into hectic, stressful meetings with client or wherever you're headed on your next business travel. Same with brushing up the loose ends around your sleep habits or your eating habits. And so I understand the rationale, the justification if you can't absolutely dial in your lifestyle, but I would rather try my best to appreciate the process of leading the most healthy lifestyle possible and getting all the sleep I need every single day, finding and sourcing the best foods, doing the most sensible workout program, which I'm not scoring very strong there right now, as evidenced by my heel surgery, indicating that I overdid it and pushed myself too far and now have a long recovery ahead of me. But I'd rather try my best to do my best rather than take a blanket and cover up my shortcomings. Do you understand what I mean? And speaking of that, how about taking lifestyle advice from someone who's in that category? We might have to take it with a grain of salt, because someone on hormone replacement can get away with stuff that a natural person might not be able to. Remember, I talked about my time as a triathlete and going in and seeing my blood values tanked because I was training so hard and traveling and racing. That's a natural consequence of the behaviors that I was engaging in that were out of balance with true health and hormone status. And speaking of that, your hormone status is a really wonderful proxy for your overall state of health and stress rest balance. It could even be expressed in terms of your libido. So when your libido is strong, that means whatever you're doing is not interfering with that healthy, natural part of your human experience. And if it's tanked, that could mean, like John Gray describes in his awesome book, Beyond Mars and Venus, and on our podcast together, it could mean dysfunctional relationship dynamics can indeed tank your testosterone and tank your libido, as well as eating all that junk food, traveling too much on jet airplanes, and training too hard in the gym or out on the roads. So it's a great proxy to see without having to pay for continued blood tests, right? Okay, so I talk about sleep as number one, and the important environment that you must create, a dark, cool, calm, quiet sanctuary to sleep, and then implement those wonderful evening rituals where you wind things down, you get away from the screen in the final hours before bedtime, and you transition into a wonderful night's sleep. And then ideally you awaken naturally in the morning without an alarm, near sunrise, again, ideally, I know we have work schedules and other things that are getting in the way, but if you can leverage that getting into direct sunlight, direct light exposure, doesn't have to be sunny, but getting your eyeballs direct light exposure as soon as you wake up outdoors without filtration from a window or anything. So if it's cold, get out on the balcony for a couple minutes and expose your eyes to actual light, natural light. That will help optimize your circadian rhythm. It will actually help optimize the next night's sleep. So a good night's sleep starts first thing in the morning, waking up near sunrise, getting light and getting movement going, as I describe in such detail on my morning routine course. So I think this has been a huge benefit for me. My male hormone status, my overall health is to get up, get outside, and commence a ambitious movement routine that I do every single morning without fail. So that brings us to number 2 on the list. So we have sleep, rest, recovery, and downtime. And then number 2, regular everyday movement. So we know from evolutionary anthropology, the human species is designed to be in near constant daily movement. That's how we evolved for 2.5 million years, to walk around, move around. We're hunting, we're gathering, we're building shelter. And this idea of sitting in a chair and deloading our skeleton and changing our physiology, we know from the research that as little as 20 minutes of sitting still will prompt a measurable decrease in glucose tolerance and an increase in insulin resistance. So we stop burning energy efficiently just from being seated, strange as it may seem. So these little bitty breaks that we can take throughout the day will help optimize hormones, keep our energy high, keep our metabolism working well. And that could be as simple as just sending the last email, getting up, going down one flight of stairs, back up, doing some stretches in the online course that you can find on bradkearns.com from Katie Bowman, the master of nutritious movement. It's called Don't Just Sit There. That's the title of the course. And she has exercises and suggestions that you can do in the office to also counterbalance the ways that your skeleton is placed inappropriate. Skeleton muscles, connective tissue are placed in inappropriate loads when we're sitting in a chair. So we can do the wall angels, where you put your back against the wall and sweep your arms up and down, and that counterbalances the hunched over posture of sitting at your desk, typing or sending text messages, what have you. So that absolute urgent need for increasing all forms of general everyday movement is right up there. Many experts contend that's more important than adhering to a devoted exercise regimen. I mean, both are super important, but if you're going to do anything, especially from we're talking to someone on a baseline level of poor health status, they're not in shape, they're not exercising, they're not eating well, set the priority to just get up and move more throughout the day. And walking, of course, is the centerpiece of that. And then we can sprinkle in things like the morning movement, the fascination that I have with micro workouts, rather than thinking that fitness is this elaborate protocol where you have to get in your car and drive to the gym. Just drop for a set of 20 deep squats in your cubicle, or one flight of stairs, or a few pulls on the stretch tubing that's hanging from your door. And these micro workouts will add up over time to a tremendous fitness and health benefit. So we have sleep, rest, recovery, and downtime as point number 1, and then increase all forms of general everyday movement, number 2, in pursuit of optimal hormone status. And remember, I said sleep, rest, recovery, and downtime. So that evening sleep block, of course, is super important, and the nice dark room and your nice 8 sleep bed that you can control the temperature on and all that great high-tech stuff. But this also means downtime from this constant sources of stimulation, hyperconnectivity, distraction, and brain function. We have no downtime anymore because of the mobile device and because the way modern life is situated. So we have to strive not only for a nice evening sleep, but taking rest periods from the near constant and hectic pace of general everyday modern life. Now, we got our movement down, we got our sleep down, then the high intensity strength training is going to be a wonderful benefit to your overall hormone and health status. And we're talking about brief, intense, explosive movements that involve full body functional movements being the best, and that's things like push-ups, pull-ups, squats, and planks, or doing the compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, Dr. Doug McGuff's Big Five workout, which is the lat pull down, the chest press, the seated row, the overhead press, and the leg press. That's working total body, compound movements, major muscle groups, major joints, putting them through the range of motion. Those kinds of exercises will be the best for a hormone boost as well, with particular attention to lower body compound movements like the squat and the deadlift, because we have greater androgen receptor density in our lower extremities. So when we work those muscles, when we challenge them, pushing them all the way to failure on a single set, let's say of the leg press, like on Dr. McGuff's workout, or if you're competent doing things like the hexagonal deadlift bar, the number one, many people think it's the number one overall most beneficial piece of fitness equipment. I tend to agree because it's so versatile, and I have that now integrated into my morning routine where I do a set of straight leg deadlifts, followed by a set of more of a squat where I'm lowering the butt down while holding the hexagonal bar, and then finally end with just holding the bar up and getting a total upper body and lower body workout when I'm tired, no rest between these three things. And that caps off my morning routine like nothing else. So it's a super versatile and safe piece of equipment that will give you a nice hormone boost, because androgen receptor density, meaning that these muscle cells will uptake a lot of the sex hormone that will give you those benefits when you're talking about performing, doing the hard work, recovering, and coming back optimal hormone status throughout the day and throughout the life, especially as you age and we suffer from this widespread condition called sarcopenia. That's the age-related loss of muscle mass, which will dramatically harm your metabolic and hormonal and even cognitive health. So getting those lower leg, those major muscle group movements is a great way to quickly boost your testosterone and promote long-term health with muscle mass. Another good thing to do along these lines is to hold a position where you can have what's called the maximum force production position, where you're strongest. So this would be near the top of the squat or near the top of the deadlift. So you're getting close to finishing a rep, and then you just hold that position. And that has especially a beneficial hormone boost and activating those receptor sites in the muscle cells to bring in the adaptive sex hormones. So what kind of protocol? Really simple. Of course, you can get all kinds of content recommending the perfect workout. But if you do somewhere around 6 reps with a challenging weight, right, where you're 6 reps near failure, and you rest extensively in between the sets, so it's not sort of a metabolic conditioning session where you're getting really tired and you're working hard through a bunch of stations, or doing a CrossFit type session or a group training boot camp where you're doing this thing, this thing, this thing. This is more about pure strength, where you're giving out maximum explosive effort for only a few reps, let's say 6 reps, and then resting a couple minutes between sets. This is similar to the proper sprint workout protocol that I'm going to detail next, but these are particularly beneficial for hormone optimization. Now, is a boot camp, a CrossFit session, a really challenging workout that you like to do, whether it's basketball or a tennis match, are those things healthy and building fitness? Of course they are, but they bring an increased risk of fatigue, depletion, and a adverse impact on your hormone status. And that was me training for triathlon and doing the crazy swim workouts and track workouts and long bike rides and all those things that are known to tank your hormones. And so when you go on a prolonged, grueling workout lasting 45 minutes or an hour, it could be a Peloton session where your heart rate is up high, you are going to produce a lot of stress hormones, particularly cortisol. And cortisol and the other stress hormones antagonize testosterone. So if the workout is a little bit too difficult, lasts for too long, doesn't have enough rest in between explosive efforts, this will contribute to a fatigue and depletion effect on your hormones, rather than the desired effect of a truly explosive, powerful workout where you walk out of the gym and you still feel light and energetic, yes, your muscles can definitely feel the effort when you push yourself hard, but you're not depleted, exhausted, staggering over to the Jamba Juice next door and needing to replenish. Those workouts should be performed few and far between if you indeed harbor those competitive goals. Otherwise, we want to stick to that explosiveness. And how do you know if you're doing too much? Here's one guideline. You want to execute precise, perfect technique on every single rep. Mark Bell, even at his extreme powerlifting goals, contends that your last rep on your last set of the workout should be as good as your first rep on your first set of whatever exercise it was. So you don't want to go in there and blow yourself up. That is going to tank hormones, especially when you do it in a patterned manner. Like that's your go-to workout is an extreme CrossFit session, and you're in group 2 rather than group 4 where you belong. You get what I'm saying? So err on the side of caution and be explosive, feel powerful, be able to execute precise technique. If you experience something like a tightening up in your lower back when you're on your 6th rep and you're thinking that you're going to do 8, no, you're done. Drop the weight immediately. Same with beginning your 3rd set and you feel not quite as strong, or you feel like you're not able to maintain those good positions. I do my 45-degree dumbbell raises every morning where my shoulder blades are pinched together aggressively, and then I'm holding the weights out at a 45-degree angle from the body and lifting up high and dropping them back down and lifting up high. And I am pinching my shoulder blades aggressively the entire time. And on certain days, if I'm recovering from a stressful workout the day before, I will notice my shoulder blades start to cave from the stress of the effort of doing the dumbbell raises before my rep count is up. So typically I'll do 25 raises at 45-degree and then immediately shift over into 25 raises with horizontal, where my arms are just out to my sides. And I can do that with my shoulder blades pinched all the time, except on those days when I can't. And that's when I have to stop the rep count early. Okay, so high intensity strength training done correctly is number 3. That gets us to number 4, sprinting. This has the greatest return on investment, the most profound impact on testosterone and the other adaptive hormones of any kind of workout. It's the quintessential human movement of brief, intense, all-out sprints, paired nicely with moving frequently at a slow pace throughout the day, putting your body under regular resistance load with strength training, and then finally capping it off with a properly conducted sprint workout. What are the best kind of sprints? Full impact running sprints on flat ground. Those have the best genetic signaling for bone density, hormone optimization, fat reduction, because the penalty for carrying excess body fat when you're trying to become competent at sprinting is so severe that you're going to see that fat melt away from your body when you become a competent sprinter on flat ground. For many of us, we need to work up to that because the injury risk is high due to the high impact and perhaps lack of competence and many years removed from the last time you've run a sprint race. So you can do wonderful sprint workouts in a low or no impact manner, such as sprinting on the Concept 2 rower, sprinting on the stationary bike or the elliptical machine, or any other way, sprinting in the swimming pool. These are all great ways to bump up that heart rate to near maximum, ask the muscles for a maximum output, and then recover extensively in between each rep so that it's true maximum output or near maximum sprint performance. We misuse that term a lot. And so when we say, hey, I did a great Peloton workout, we sprinted 10 times for a minute each time, that's not a sprint. The body cannot truly deliver maximum output, technically speaking, for longer than 7 or 8 seconds. That's the ATP creatine phosphate pathway that gets exhausted after 7 or 8 seconds. And then we go into recruiting different energy sources. The next pathway is called the lactate pathway. And then we go up to the glucose pathway. And then finally, the fat burning pathway as we go for hours and hours. But a true literal sprint where your ability to generate absolute maximum force can only last for around 7 to 8 seconds. Now, the commonly cited optimal parameters for a sprint workout, hopefully you're going to memorize these by now because I talk about them so much, but the recommendation for everyone at every fitness level is to perform between 4 and 10 sprints, lasting between 10 and 20 seconds with a 6-to-1 recovery to work ratio. So if you're sprinting 10 seconds, you're going to rest for a minute. If you're sprinting for 20 seconds, you're going to rest for 2 minutes. How do you choose between 10 and 20? It's your fitness level, it's your competitive goals. It's also the event you choose. So if you're running high impact sprints on flat ground, you might err on or you might trend toward the lower side of that. So you might be doing 10-second sprints, whereby if you're doing something in the swimming pool with no impact or on a stationary bike, you might want to go up to 20 seconds, especially it takes a while to accelerate on a stationary bike, for example, and shift the resistance. And so whatever duration you choose, go for a 6-to-1 recovery. That's going to be plenty of time to come back for your next sprint feeling refreshed, energized, and your nervous system, what's called optimally excited and uninhibited. You're ready to pounce and do another sprint. But if you start to experience a breakdown in technique, fatigue of the central nervous system, like you don't feel like doing anymore, your focus is wandering, or you feel a new and unique muscle tension, for example, the lower back or the hamstrings tightening up after your 4th sprint or your 7th sprint, that's when you know to cut the workout short, and you've done just fine. So we have sleep, we have movement, we have high intensity strength training, we have sprinting. And interestingly, this is research cited on one of Ben Greenfield's shows talking about testosterone optimization. The research shows that sprints as short as 6 seconds can deliver a wonderful boost in testosterone levels. So you don't even have to go for 10 seconds. You can do these brief bursts and get a huge hormone benefit. Now, what to avoid, as we talked about all these great workouts to do, that chronic exercise that can absolutely tank your hormones. Don't be like that young professional triathlete, Brad, that was out there all day trying to get faster and tanking his hormones in the process. It was an evil trade-off in pursuit of athletic excellence and competitive excellence at the highest level, basically sacrificing my health, putting my health on the sideline as I pursued incremental fitness goals that really aren't in the interest of nearly anyone except for an elite performer, right? So you want to avoid chronic exercise patterns of any kind. The popular template of high intensity interval training is almost by definition or has high potential to be overly stressful. So when you're asked to perform interval after interval after interval during these boot camp classes or during the group cycling class, it can easily drift over into the category of overly stressful workout pattern. It's much better, especially for hormone optimization, to perform brief high intensity sprints with long rest. Same with the strength training. I know we want to get metabolic conditioning, it's called. We want to get fit enough to complete a CrossFit workout, but this comes at more risk to hormone optimization than the true power and the rest and the recovery. So be absolutely sure to steer clear of anything that resembles even a whiff of chronic exercise. Stress hormones antagonize testosterone. It's as simple as that. And now we'll quickly move over to diet, which we've talked about so much. But in a nutshell, for hormone optimization, we want to have a protein-centric, nutrient-dense diet that has eliminated processed foods, which tank your health, tank your hormone status, making sure we get enough protein, making sure we get that 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. That's the new formula communicated by the great experts. I love the show Dr. Don Layman did on Peter Attia Drive. I love Dr. Gabrielle Lyon hitting this point over and over about the protein-centric diet. Dr. Ted Naiman, a previous guest on my show, talking about this protein to energy ratio diet, whereby we prioritize protein. We get the high satiety provided by protein. We get that maximum nutrient density that you can find by downloading the Carnivore Scores food rankings chart on my website. And we steer clear of the processed foods that will destroy our health, destroy our hormone status, mess up our appetite and satiety hormones, and lead us down this path of being less than fully energetic, poor recovery, poor performance, and poor metabolic function, such that we experience an increased reliance upon this crappy processed food to get through the day because we don't have good hormones running through our blood. Okay, so that's the the nutshell of the diet. Rob Wolf, major props for him with his epic one-liner that he delivered on our podcast together, where he says, if you want to live longer, lift more weights and eat more protein. Maintain that muscle mass throughout life, that muscle strength. And as Dr. Lyon talks about with this protein-centric medicine, or muscle-centric medicine is her term, if you can maintain optimal body composition, if you can keep that muscle mass, that muscle strength going, by definition, you're going to have excellent metabolic health. We're programmed in culture to obsess about our body fat levels and keep our weight down and try to avoid adding on more fat. That is certainly a valid approach, a belief system, but it's going to be better to prioritize protein, prioritize muscle mass, and let the body fat take care of itself accordingly. So if you can get stronger and more muscle mass, you're going to burn more calories, and you're going to drop that fat that you might have had a difficult time removing when you're engaging in calorie restriction, fasting, portion control, ketogenic eating, all the tools and tricks that we use to try to eat fewer calories so that we'll drop that excess body fat. How about turning up the dial on the other side of the equation and burning more calories, working harder, building more muscle, and letting your metabolic function take care of itself 24/7. I just saw a good clip from Dr. Paul Saladino talking about that too. The way to lose weight is to lose weight around the clock by having a lot of muscle mass and a good metabolic rate as created from your exercise regimen. So the protein-centric, nutrient-dense diet, go for those animal foods that are the most nutritious on the earth, make the best choices in every category, and choose the plant foods selectively. In short, meat and fruit is going to be a big winner, fruit being the premium source of carbohydrates, along with other optionals that work for you. But I'm really loving this new kick of optimizing intake of all macronutrients, including carbohydrates in the form of the most nutritious carbohydrates, starting with fruit. So that brings us to supplements and the potential they have to keep you in that optimal category. And protein would be at the top of the list because we want this protein-centric diet. However, it can be difficult to sit down and prepare a delicious, nutritious meal, the omelet, the steak, when you're running around on a busy, hectic day, or have just finished a workout and your appetite is not quite ready to sit down to a feast because your body temperature is elevated, the stress hormones are still regulating, and that is a great time to take the most easiest and highest quality protein, easiest to digest, highest quality B.rad grass-fed whey protein super fuel. And we're so happy how the taste comes out with this light, authentic, natural taste. That's why I insisted on not putting any artificial sweeteners in there. You can take a scoop or even 2 scoops of the super fuel and stir it in water and drink it. And it just tastes like a light vanilla drink. It's not that thick, disgusting, fake taste that you're going to get from the vanilla cream smoothies that might be for sale on the shelf at your local fitness facility, and you're going to get sick of over time. So if you start your day with 20 or 40 grams of protein going down the hatch, that's going to help you optimize your protein intake and guarantee it even among the ebbs and flows of your dietary habits and whether you were able to sit down for that delicious steak and egg. So people sometimes blanket object to needing supplements when we can get everything we need from healthy, nutritious diet. I absolutely agree. And if I'm sitting down to a delicious omelet every day that my private chef wakes me up and has me eat, I'm going to be less needing something quick and easy on the go. But for most of us, we want to choose carefully with the supplements that have the most benefit and are the most convenient and help us stay focused there. Creatine is next on the list. This is the most proven performance supplement ever, basically. The most studied, the most longest used with great success. It helps with muscle performance, muscle strength, muscle recovery. And now emerging research is showing its tremendous promise for protecting the brain neurons from age-related damage, especially for healthy, active people. So creatine, I've talked about the creatine phosphate pathway that helps you produce maximum energy for those 8-second sprints. It's an energy source for the muscle cell. It's so important to muscle hydration, muscle performance recovery status, And it's absolutely undisputed that this is one of the most important things you can do as a healthy, active person is to make sure you get enough creatine every day. Where is it found? Mainly in the diet, in meat, especially red meat. And so if you eat a couple pounds of red meat per day, like Dr. Sean Baker, his creatine levels are optimized. That's why he's setting records in the 50 plus division in rowing, and peak performance guy all around. And I think not big on supplements from some of the content he puts out. That's great if you're eating 2 pounds of red meat a day. And if you're a little short of that and you want to get a great performance boost, hey, why did I put it in the super fuel? For that reason. So you're getting whey protein and creatine, at least in my product, or you can buy them separately and mix and match, but I don't think you can beat this product. I'm so happy to put it out there because I've tried everything and bought from different sources and mixed and matched, and now I make it easy and convenient for you to take the very best. So that goes on the list. And of course, what else goes on the supplement list? MOFO, that's right. Male optimization formula with organs. This show's turning into a commercial, Brad. Well, that's because I strongly believe that this stuff has been highly effective for me. And as I report before, going back around 2019, something kicked into gear for me, and I experienced a huge boost in overall energy and peak performance and athletic performance. And I think certain things happened around that time. Probably optimal lifestyle circumstances and everything in healthy balance, my career, my love life, my personal life, my diet, spinning out of the period of time where I was in the ketogenic research and development, writing those books and trying to adhere to strict keto guidelines and perform and recover. It was too much for me. It didn't work. And so bringing back more carbs and then also drifting away from the plant centered diet where I was consuming large amounts of these potentially problematic plants. So the advent of the carnivore movement and also starting to consume pretty good quantities of the ancestral supplements, organ meats, and trying to up my organ game in general. So bringing these super nutritious foods into my diet, especially grass-fed liver, which goes into my smoothie every morning. That has been a big boost, as well as taking MOFO and the other ancestral supplements. So with MOFO, it's comprised of, this is from grass-fed cattle, we have testicle, prostate, heart, liver, and bone marrow compilation freeze-dried into the capsules. And I take quite a few of these every day. I throw them into my smoothie or I swallow them, whatever's the most convenient. And the compilation of animal organs contains the proteins, peptides, enzymes, cofactors, and molecular biodirectors that signal your body to optimize or increase natural production of testosterone. This is called like supports like. It's a fundamental piece of ancestral medicine, of ancient Chinese medicine for thousands of years, where if you are fed an extract or the actual organ from the animal, whether it's a kidney or a thyroid, it's going to support the function of a corresponding organ in your body. It's a little bit, I would say, maybe the staunch Western medicine person is going to look askance at something like the concept of like supports like, even though it's thousands of years old. The Native American healers, the Chinese medicine have had this as a centerpiece, and even more mainstream, like a functional medicine person will give you maybe some desiccated thyroid to kickstart your thyroid, or adrenal or desiccated liver has long been a popular supplement because it's incredibly nutrient dense. So say what you want to say about your belief systems and the rigid science that you want to follow. Guess what? Dr. Kate Shanahan, about as measured and thoughtful as you can get, acknowledges that when you're taking these organs in supplemental form, they have the exact nutrient profile as required by the actual organs in your body. So when you take freeze-dried testicle, you are getting high levels of boron, vitamin A, riboflavin, all the things that are necessary for healthy testicular function and testosterone production. So I think the science is tremendously supportive that these products can benefit you greatly, and they've been a big help for me along with all the other things. And then we have in the next category all the other possible supplements that you can take, especially for the very popular category of testosterone optimization. Your head will blow if you go onto Amazon and search for supplements. Some of the ones that have been validated pretty strongly by science are making sure you get enough magnesium, which is frequently deficient in the modern human. Vitamin D status should be optimal. And of course, the main way to get that is through sun exposure, secondarily through supplementation, and thirdly through diet. So even a high vitamin D diet is going to give you only a fraction of what you will get with healthy sun exposure during the times of day and year of peak solar intensity in your area. And if you live a sun deficient lifestyle, such as those of equatorial ancestry living in Sweden right now or in Canada, if you have challenges or you're indoors a lot, you can do vitamin D supplementation and or getting some vitamin D UVB lamps on your skin. That would be a proper tanning bed. I have a small vitamin D lamp called the Rayminder, where in the wintertime, I will stand in front of this very powerful lamp for a couple minutes at a time, and it will prompt vitamin D production in those months of the year where I can't get vitamin D from outside. So we have magnesium, we have vitamin D, we have boron, which is another mineral that in today's diet is deficient because the soil is depleted of things like boron. And so you can go get dried figs and dates grown in the Mediterranean area, Greece, Italy, because that soil is still pretty good. And those foods will give you high levels of boron, or you can supplement with boron. So that's now on my list as being especially effective for testosterone optimization. And so that would be a quick hit at some of the popular supplements. But of course, then we also have all these exotic plant compounds that have become or have been very popular for quite some time, centuries. In the case of things like ginseng, has been known as used as an aphrodisiac for a long time. But the research on some of these compounds that you might have heard bantered about, Dr. Huberman did some programming where he went through the various exotic plant agents that have some correlation with boosting libido, not necessarily testosterone as much as libido. And those are seemingly interchangeable, but they're not exactly interchangeable. So if you're looking down that route and want to experiment with some of this stuff, you may have heard about things like Tongkat Ali, Tribulus terrestris, horny goatweed, Panax ginseng, ashwagandha, mama root, longjack, fenugreek, pine bark, and black pepper. So these herbals are believed to boost strength, increase your energy, help with muscle building, help with libido. If you want to play around with that stuff, I don't think it can hurt too much, but I would stick to the major ones, which would be whey protein, creatine, healthy eating, of course, and considering a supplement like MOFO for targeted testosterone optimization. Oh my gosh, the reviews from customers are really impressive. You can read those on Amazon, and I'm proud to stand behind that product. And then especially proud as we close down here to say, hey, I'm 100% natural. And by the way, when it comes to the content dispensed on this show, it is 100% authentic and 0% embellished. I had to scroll through my Instagram posts and my show content to make sure there's absolutely nothing that's not really happening in my life every day. So I'm not posing in any way, and I don't plan to ever. So I will be telling the truth. If I go over to the hormone replacement therapy 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to hear all about it here. But for now, putting the rumors to rest, Brad is a natty and proud of it and trying my best. And hopefully you'll join me on this journey. Thank you so much for listening. And let's hear what you have to say. I love getting the feedback. Podcast at bradventures.com is the email address. And I'm sure we'll have follow-up programming with Q&A shows to get deeper into this as each of us navigates our personal battle. Thanks.